Yes, everyone, welcome to this third webinar today in the Nordic Way final event. I'm Even Myhre from the Norwegian Public Roads Administration and will be your moderator for this session on the topic deployment of roadworks warming and road pricing. This session will cover the flagship pilot roadworks warming and geofence pilot road pricing, how to use data from entrepreneurs and implement an in-vehicle service for roadworks warming in the pilots, and how to bring this into the future service beyond NordicWay 3. And we have several 10 minutes presentations here with highlighting from results from the projects. And we will focus on realization and implementation, and of course, if there are any obstacles from the results findings in Nordic Way. And there are some practical. We will go on until 15:10. Then we'll have a short break. But most important is that we will start again sharp 15:25. So we have to be careful with time. And we will have some practical information in the beginning. This session will be recording and available afterwards on several platforms. Per Einar Pedersli will be supporting me and as a co-moderator, and also helping and supporting with the Q&A session. Questions and clarification, if time, we will have after every speech. But in the end of the webinar, we will have the Q&A session. And please write your questions in the chat. So we will take care of that either during the session or afterwards. We will give answer on the questions. But keep your 10 minutes and be specific on the message that you have. And then we go on. I want you to use 5 seconds to introduce yourself before you start the speech. Background and position. So then I will handle over for Per Einar Pedersli and give the introduction of the Nordic Way flagship. Please.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Per Einar Pedersli. I'm working in the Norwegian Public Road Administration in a section called ITS Technology. I work mostly with the project coordination within CITS. I will have a short intro to this session. And first I will say that we have a Nordic Way, have an internet page, which you could look into after the webinar. There are a lot of reports on results and videos from the whole project, and final reports from Nordic Way 3 will be available early 2024. Nordic Way 3 pilots are divided in what we call flagship pilots and proof of concept pilots. Flagship pilots, they are deployed across countries, so then we can make it possible to do cross-border testing and to verify data quality of the messages and test functionality inside the Interchange Federation. Road pricing is one of the proof of concepts using geofence technology. The first part of this session will present the 2 pilots, roadworks warning and road pricing. Some takeouts. We had a demonstration in ITS Europe, which was a big success. We will come back to that. And the roadworks warning service is based on production data, which we think is very important to develop this further on. And we have shown that standard formats works very well. For further deployment, it's important that the regulations is in place, both in EU and the national requirements for data sharing. Authorities must facilitate data with known quality, and services must be useful for road users, then service providers will do their job. This was a short intro to the rest of the session.
Okay, thank you, Per Einar. And we run on. You mentioned shortly that we had a successful demonstrator in connection with the ITS Europe in Lisbon earlier this year. And one of the main persons behind this successful story is Kenneth Sørensen and some of other colleagues. But Kenneth will give us highlighted and short presentations from the demonstrator going on in Lisbon. So please, Kenneth.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, I'm Kenneth Sørensen. I have been with the NPRA for almost 4 years now, working with ITS technology from a very technical perspective. Before that, I also worked with ITS research and development at SINTEF. I also have a few years in the oil and gas industry, both in research and development and also as a field engineer, and I also worked as a consultant. So I'm going to talk about the demonstration we did in Lisbon earlier this year. So I'm going to just briefly go through what we demonstrated, how we built the demonstrator, and some of the key results from it. So we went to ITS Europe in May this year. The conference was from the 21st to the 24th. We had a live demonstrator in the outside area. So there was only one other live demonstrator there. It was the self-driving shuttle. And the point was to showcase the results from NordicWay. And it was also a demonstration, and we also had a live event there with some speakers and a panel discussion. Yeah, so demonstration was performed in 2 cars. Polestar in Lisbon was kind enough to lend us 2 production cars. In these cars, we installed some apps that has been developed in NordicWay and also other projects. One for displaying roadworks warnings, and another one for displaying or for showcasing the distance-based tolling. Unfortunately, we were unable to have a live green light optimization there because we couldn't get access to the intersection signals. We opted for a very short route because the traffic outside the conference area was challenging, to say the least. So we had a very short route, and that sort of enabled us to get our message across in quite a short time span. So it was a good decision to do that, not go into the general traffic. So this is the route we drove. It was about 1 kilometer long. So we had a person acting as a moving roadworks warning, so high visibility vest and using an app. And we also had some of the remote devices installed on the signpost there for warnings. So as I said, for the mobile roadworks warning, we had a person acting as an operation vehicle. So this was supplied by BM Systems and Mesta using the interchange. So this was achieved using an app that Mesta is already using to plan their day. So we are sort of piggybacking on things that the contractors are already doing and sort of enhancing the value from that. This is the data that are used to invoice as for the work that they do. We also had a stationary roadworks warning that was done using a device that Ramuden uses on their signs for detecting if signs have fallen over, or if the work area is intact as intended. So this sends a message to their back office system that's then published to the interchange. That's also the case with the other this demonstrator. It's published to the interchange. So this one goes through the Norwegian one, and this goes through the Swedish, as I remember it. Excuse me. Sorry about that. Yeah. So this is one example. From the time the message is sent from Lisbon, it's passed to BM's back office systems, to Mesta, then to the interchange, and then back to the car in less than 1 second. So it's pretty real time. We also had an app for distance-based tolling that was developed by Q3. This was an app that they have developed for a previous demonstration or a pilot that was ported to the Android automotive system that runs in the vehicles. It runs in the background, but it has a screen to show you the results. So I think Ørjan will talk more about this later on. So I won't go too much into that. Yeah, so the key things we did was to build it using components that we already had, that was developed in NordicWay, with as few adaptations as possible. So there had to be some adaptations to especially to sign messages being injected into the system. So we used 2 interchanges, the one from Bouvet and one from Monoch. And we have also developed a central ITS server that validates and signs messages, ETSI messages. We were quite keen to utilize activities that the contractors are already doing, especially for the roadworks warning, because that really shortens the time into production. We don't have to make any new apps or new systems. And I would say that the data sources here are production or near production ready. We also didn't want to install any additional devices in the car. So that's why we borrowed a car from Polestar. In an earlier project, we have developed an application that runs on the head unit in the Polestar. It just needs to be installed through the Google App Store. So that's what we did there as well. We got the car, installed the apps, and then the next day we were ready to go. So if you use the specifications and the components that were developed in NordicWay, you actually end up getting a system that works. So the results from the conference was there was a lot of interest for the demonstrator, even more than the shuttle. I guess people have seen that quite a few times already. So during our stay there for the 3 days that the conference lasted, we had about 100 trips. So we had like a full schedule all day. We were driving and driving and driving and explaining people about the concepts. And I think one of the key things that people liked was that we sort of put the theory and the research and the development modules into practice and show the working system. We've also had some international attention after the conference, both from Europe and outside Europe. And Ketil, you have to correct me if I'm wrong, but Mesta is still delivering roadworks warning in Østfold to the
Yes, we are.
So if anyone was interested, we could start pushing these warnings. into the cars. So that's all that I have to say. I guess I ended up about a minute short, so I'll gladly put it back to you, Evan.
Yes, thanks very much, Kenneth. Precisely and good. And this was a demonstration, and we will later on also hear from real implementation. So we're looking forward to that. I have a small question to put on you, Kenneth. What is the secret behind a successful demonstration like you do in Lisbon?
The right people. Yeah, and the right mindset. We took a bit of a chance, just promising a lot, and we were able to pull it off because we had the right people, and we also had the right components, and like we had a good foundation from NordicWay.
Yeah, that's good, but it's important to do this like this activity.
Yeah, and also if you go out on a limb, you are certainly going to stretch a bit further to achieve your goals. So it's important to be a bit bold, I think.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much, Kenneth. And then we go to the next presentation, and we turn to road pricing using geofence technology. And Ørjan Tveit, who has been responsible for this, also a colleague from us in Norwegian Public Roads Administration, will give us headlines from the activity that they have done within road pricing. It was also a part of the NordicWay activity. So please, Ørjan, the floor is yours.
Thank you. My name is Ørjan Tveit. I work for the Public Road Administration. I've been here for something like 12 years, and before that I was a researcher at SINTEF in Norway. The theme is road pricing using geofence technology. Let's see. So can you see the same screenshot that I see? You know that what's a geofence? A geofence is a virtual and geographically placed zone. For traffic management, it's possible to add rules, requests, or information for these zones, communicating to vehicles and control the vehicles or inform the drivers. The vehicle can share data back, and we can use it for anything you want, like ban red vehicles from the city. As a far-stretched example, but you can do a lot of things, impose a lot of rules by geofences. In Norway, we have had a focus on road user charging lately. We have a lot of tolling rings in Norway, and we are discussing and changing them because currently fossil cars are paying road use tax, and they are paying normal rate in tolling rings, while zero-emission vehicles do not pay road use tax, and they are paying less in the tolling rings. So that means that we have done this for encouraging people to buy electrical cars, but now so many people have bought them that we actually need to change the policy a little bit. Public Road Administration started in 2018 about giving or looking into how can we use geofence for road user charging. We have 3 essential for a research project where we tried different approaches to this. We started with GeoSim. There was more like a mobile phone payment game to promote electrical driving in city centers for hybrid vehicles. Then we proceed with GeoFlow, geofence concept for pay-as-you-go based on a station. This is the main take from Public Road Administration to NordicWay 3 when it comes to geofence applications. And then we have we are now following up on a tag for all geofence concept for pay as you go again, but this time based on a miniature hardware. The pilot that we tried in Trondheim, you can see on map where we set up the parameters from the geofence, and the around we can also see where we are currently have tolling ring. We had 140 vehicles involved, 3 months of driving. We took out technical data from the cars, full DNSS trace, survey data, and we are processing the unit in processing the data in compliance with GDPR, and it was a large push for road user charging in Norway because we showed that it's possible to do this. It's possible to move forward with road user charging based on what we have learned. Of course, it's not totally solved yet, but it is a far way towards that. GeoFlow is based on a thin client. That means that the data from where you are driving is staying within the unit inside the vehicle. I don't need to go too much into this drawing, but it shows that you get information from satellites, from the context data server, and you can be able to have a roadside station with enforcement, and you can share the data if you want to. But the data stays in the vehicle. That's a main takeaway here. One of the things that I think is really interesting with the road user charging instead of tolling is that you change the people who's paying. Currently, you are paying in the tolling rings in Norway if you pass the tolling ring. But what we should aim for is who is driving inside the geofenced area that you are looking for, inside this central area of the city that you would avoid people who are driving from. So you can see the in blue that is current tolling based on some studies that we have made, and the purple is the new payment based on how they are driving inside the city. It's important to also remember that GNSS is not perfect. One of the problems that we have encountered is that when you are starting a trip, if you're in a basement and you are driving real swift into a tunnel, it's problematic to get the first fix or initialization, and then we have to have some sort of backup system so that we are finding the correct route and not just have a start point and then the next fixation. And there could be also some still stand problems if the system is running and they are thinking that you are still driving, but you're not. So that's something that we have to look into for the further development. One of the things that we did was have a pre-survey discussion or interview of the people who was involved in the test. And the reason that we are doing this is that we'd like to get information from people who actually are using the new system, so that they have some reference when they are asked about how the things work for them. But one of the things that we asked before they tested the system was, do you consider this current tolling system in Trondheim to be fair? And it's not so many who's really enthusiastic forward to it like that. But when we are asking them after they have tried road user charging, I think that it's more fair. It's better to have this sort of payment as you go instead of a tolling ring. But at the end, we asked them also, has it helped you to save money? And of course, they didn't. Because we are setting the system up so that you're overall we paid. The people involved should pay much more much the same when it comes to tolling and road user charging. The takeaway here is that trials or piloting studies are often conducted under limited circumstances, such as time and location. By introducing new functionality as a voluntary test, more drivers will experience learning, and with this will over time influence how they experience being regulated automatically by digital traffic law. That means that they have tested it and then know what they are asked when they are asked about it. They know how it would be. It's not just a theoretical survey. And the voluntary use cases are example on how authorities could move forward in terms of using adaptive policy making, since voluntary policies are often more flexible and easier to adjust over time as experience and knowledge about the use case is brought forward. So we think that it's nice to have use cases, test new technologies and make policy based on that. And that was my final slide today.
Thank you, Ørjan, for your presentations about road pricing, the future for road pricing and possibilities we have. A short question for you, Ørjan, is when do you think this is ready for full-scale implementation? Do you have any time schedule for that?
I think that the technical solution will be ready before the political solution, and that's the answer that I can give you.
So it's heavy questions to be put up before.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, thank you very much, Ørjan. Also, in time, thumbs up. That's good. Then we move on. As we heard earlier this morning, we have a new adopted ITS directive, and this will also be important for the topics that we are discussing at this session. And we have an expert on that also in the Norwegian Public Roads Administration, Gjermund Jacobsen, who will give us some headlines from the new directive and what motivation will this give us for working further on for deployment of CITS services. So Gjermund, please give us the motivation factors.
Thanks, Evan. Thanks for inviting me. So first, I work for the Norwegian Public Road Administration. I work here as a business developer, road and transport data. Been here for a couple of years now, but previous to that, I have a history in Navtech, Nokia, and Hair Technologies. So you probably understand where I come from. Little bit, so I was asked to give a little bit a motivator for the deployment, as Evan mentioned. Also, there's been a lot of talk about the ITS directive in several or earlier of the presentations today. And what the few slides I'm going to show you today are not representing any result of the project as such, but they combine, and there's a lot of the similarities that a lot of people have made as good points on how we can use the directive and legislations going forward. So, as presented earlier today, the ITS directive in the 2023 amendment is a good guide on how certain data change should occur in the transport system within the EU. But that doesn't, and it gives the overarching framework for the deployment of ITS services in the EU. And of course, it also helps us to adhere the specifications and standards established by the Commission through the delegated regulations. But that's all well good. First, we also as a public authority, we need to think why, from our own perspective, as road owners, road operators, and so on. And what is our mandate and task? We often have to consider the entire life cycle of our transport system, from planning, constructing, operation, maintenance, and providing services for the foreseeable future. And I think that someone said in Norway, we build roads that is planned to last 100 years. Don't quote me on that, but the point is that we're in this for a long time. And a good example, accurate and reliable information about roadworks warning is one of the good examples that is important when we look at the various needs, both from an external and internal point of view. So all the points that you have on the screen here is something that is fitting for roadworks warning. So this is a very, very high-level summary of the revision of the 2010 ITS directive. So, and I think that we can all understand and hopefully agree on the main objectives and see how they will support the important steps that we need to take going forward. Let's see them as accelerators towards the implementation, which is one of the challenges that we have. And setting the right targets, it's extremely important, and scoping beyond the previous directive. And that will hopefully be in line with the previous priority, regardless if you're a public authority, if you're a contractor, service provider, OEM, end user, anyone that's part of this value chain. And I like to use the example of a person driving along a route and where accurate information about road closures and roadworks is essential for a good journey, regardless who owns the road. I don't care if it's a state, county, municipality, or private. And I think that we need to keep that in mind as well when we take the necessary steps ahead. And when we look at the types of data, you see them on the screen. And luckily, there are some types of data that there is valuable and valid for today's presentations. And another example is today, there's a workshop in Amsterdam as we speak. This is the third workshop in 2023, where public and private European representatives, national road authorities, city authorities, national transport ministries, trade association, research institutions, and the ITS industry is together. And it's organized by the service providers, B-Mobile, Google, Here, TomTom, Inrix, but then in close collaboration with NAPCOR, TISA, and TM 2.0. And one of the objectives for this workshop, the multiple ones, is to foster a strong collaboration between the stakeholders to implement the RTT delegated act going forward. And another example on the second workshop where they had this, where there were multiple use cases discussed. And for this session as well, it was good to hear that everyone agreed that one of the most important use cases is roadworks and road closures, together with also speed limits and car routing in cities. They got a high priority. And today's and tomorrow's workshop, they will focus on data quality, which is also crucial when it comes to the deployment of roadworks warning. So hopefully, will the following statements be a motivator for us all to achieve the goals we have, regardless who you are, and that it's in line with the objective of sustainable, smart, and resilient mobility set by the Commission, that I also believe that most of us here can stand behind, whether we have them as our own strategic goals or not. So that was very quickly. Thank you.
Thank you, Gjermund. for your brief introduction to the new ITS directive, and thumbs up and claps here. So I think that was either news or important input for the audience. A short question for you as well, Gjermund. You have been down in the material and look into it. And do this ITS directive give the tool that we need now to motivate for implementation, full-scale implementation, which is the big question here?
Yes and no. It will help us because it will give more. The scoping and the requirements is getting harder, or harder is that we will meet that we have to cover more. For example, for RTTI and for roadworks warning. So yes, it will help, but it doesn't mean that we are down on every single road. So there will still be a enormous job to get full coverage on the entire network. We can manage on the state on the TNT and the most important road network, but the legislation doesn't necessarily say that every single road needs to cover yet, and that's a natural development. So it's a good help, but it doesn't solve everything.
But the factors of motivation is there.
It is there, definitely.
Thanks. Okay, thank you, Gjermund, again. And then we will move into the real world. And one of the most important thing with NordicWay is to implement services like roadworks warning. And we have two examples that we will go into now for the next 20 minutes. And first of them will be presented by Sebastian Andersson from Rabmunden, an entrepreneur that have taken the roadworks warning into their practical life. So please, Sebastian, 5 seconds to introduce yourself in the beginning, and then the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Sebastian Andersson, business development at Rabmunden and Rabmunden Global. Let's go. So digitalization of roadworks as input to the roadworks warning service. This presentation is divided into two sections. First off, the background, a bit about the Rabmunden digital vision and what Rabmunden is doing in terms of supervision and marking of work sites. And then we'll move into connected roadworks and how this background with the Rabmunden digital vision connects very well with the NordicWay and what we've done in the NordicWay.
Sebastian, sorry to interrupt you. Do you want to take over the presentation? Otherwise, Evan need to do it. I still have control.
Okay, I think it's fine because I navigate here.
Yeah, but
we don't see when you navigate.
So either you have to take control on the button up on the left side.
There.
Yeah, super. Thank you. Okay. So here. So the Rabmunden digital vision is very simple. It's a digital twin of the work site that we see several benefits from. Increased safety, of course, because of reduced time in traffic and environment. Improved service from live information available. A reduced cost, of course, for all participants, which means efficient operation and only action when needed. And maybe the most important, improved sustainability, reduce CO2 emissions by less travel to and from sites. There's a lot of travel to and from sites today, and by reducing that, we can reduce a lot of CO2 emissions. And how do we do this in practice? We have one example here that is digital supervision and digital marking. So when you do supervision of a work site, you basically establish it. You go back and forth to the site. It could be once a day, 3 times a day, or in some cases less often, like only weekends. But it's common, and we do it a lot. And it's in all countries where Ramuden operates, supervision is done in some way. And of course, by moving to digital supervision, by of course establishing work sites, but monitor and only act when there's an alarm, an event, a sign has fallen over, we can increase the value for the customer and get a safer environment. There's also, of course, if you go once a day, there's 24 hours until the next time you visit the site. And when you know it, after just a few minutes from an incident, you can act from that. You can give a safer environment in the traffic. So how is this connected to NordicWay? Well, we have 1,700 IntelliTags in the Nordics thus far. This is the tracker that we use. It's from in-house. And this number will just go up. So it's being implemented this year. We began in May by introducing it as digital supervision on work sites. And within the group, we have thus far 4,400 connected devices. And this number will just go up over time, of course. And this is how we do it in terms of communication in the NordicWay. Our trackers, they communicate with our portal where a lot of the logic, of course, exists. And it's then transferred over to the interchange cloud or sent. What we've done in the NordicWay project is say that, yeah, when you have a warning sign, a start sign, and an end sign, which gives you a message sent to the interchange to be consumed by the OEMs on the right-hand side. And we've done this in practice, not only in PowerPoint. So here is one example from Danviksbron in Stockholm, where the app developed by Knowit for NordicWay Free was installed into a stock factory Volvo. And we have a few of our colleagues at Ramuden that has downloaded this app and installed it. And yeah, when you are approaching the work site, you get a notification in the infotainment system. So we've had roughly 20 sites at most, I think, simultaneously sending this type of data to the interchange and being able to be used by road users. If you had the app, of course. The app, you need to sign up to use it. But I think you'll have at least December to do that as well. And we, of course, also did a demo down at the CITS conference in Lisbon, this time with a Polestar, also factory, well, it's even a rental Polestar, where the Norwegian developed app was installed. This was a demo route, so we had IntelliTags mounted. Of course, it was not work sites, but mounted to a fictive work site. And I think it was almost 200 demo visitors that got to do this small route with the Polestars and got live updates in the infotainment system. So last slide, what's next? From a Ramuden perspective, we're always trying to push boundaries in terms of adding new innovation to the roadworks business. We will continue rollout of both digital marking and digital supervision. What's nice is they go hand in hand. So if you do digital supervision, yeah, we have the site mark, but we're also pushing digital marking of sites regardless, which is that is enabling data for roadworks warning. There are some tweaks in terms of modification of messages, what the content will be, but except that it's kind of operational. Just as I heard in an earlier presentation, the technology exists. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sebastian, for your presentation. This is what we like to hear, that research and development activities goes further on for implementation. So that's really nice. And I think a lot of the audience like to hear it in the way that you tell us. I have a couple of questions for you. As I understand, you are on your way for full-scale implementation. Can you say something about what is your plan further on and the time schedule for that? Will this be a 100% service implemented for all your works, or what is your plan?
100% will be, if you look at the variety of type of work sites we operate with, 100% will be hard, but what we see is the bigger work sites on the bigger roads and with a dense traffic situation. Of course, we're pushing to get out trackers. It's digital supervision that is one of the locomotives in this, of course. Yeah, this will just continue over the coming years, and we're only in the beginning of the journey of actually making the sites digital for real. We will see a lot more work sites connected in the future.
And I also think that one of the most important motivation you have is money for value, that you have a cost benefit for using this implementation. Have you calculated anyway what this means for you as a company?
We have, but also from a sustainability perspective, as for digital supervision with marking the work sites, the site I mentioned at the Danviksbron, since deployment in September, we came to a rough figure of 500 kilos of CO2 pollution we've been able to reduce. And of course, that is a huge benefit for all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
For a nice and good example. And then we are moving on to another similar example for implementing roadworks warning service. And we have Ketil Dahl from another entrepreneur, Mesta, who will give us a presentation of what Mesta have done so far. So please, Ketil.
Thank you. My name is Ketil Dahl. I'm, as said, working for Mesta. We are the largest O&M entrepreneur in Norway, and our interest in this project is connected to another digitization project where all our production is moving into a new platform delivered by the Swedish company BM System, and that will make all our production more or less online when working out on the roads. Today I'm working as head of market and business development in Mesta, and I've been in Mesta since 2010. My presentation is focusing on the O&M entrepreneur perspective, why it's so important and so interesting to participate in the NordicWay, and also for the further development and use of roadworks warning, and in special the mobile roadworks. First of all, after the Lisboa demonstrations, it's clearly that from a technical perspective, it works, the solution works. It was less than a second between the worker and the car going from Sweden to Norway and then back to Lisboa. So for us, it's important that now it grows we are implementing the O&M production management system from BM. We will be fully connected with all our people working out on the roads by the end of 2024, which means that we are ready to implement roadworks warning and mobile roadworks in all our O&M operations, not only the Østfold pilot. Østfold was a pilot for the O&M management system, and therefore was used as a pilot in the roadworks warning pilot. Mesta has a safety-first culture, and therefore also a digital safety for all our workers, but also partners or subcontractors is important, and it contributes to our safety goals. And it's also by and for the connected users of the road. For us to use this digital safety layer, we need the connected road users that we can provide with information about our work, and by doing so, they can act in a way that makes it safer for our people working out there. We also have, for the stationary roadworks, we are being they are being digitally logged in real time, but it's not shared. So as Sebastian is working with Ramuden's solution, there are several digital solutions when it comes to the stationary roadworks. Already a lot of data is provided or created, and I think we should go on and start exploring how we can share and use that data more than today. So in short, what makes it attractive for Mesta with this solution? We have every year several severe incidents when it comes to mobile roadworks, and it's very much a good or bad luck for the parties involved when it comes to the outcome of these incidents. Early warning is close to impossible regarding mobile roadworks, except for the use of warning lights. We have no possibility to create some early warning for the traffic. And this solution is a step towards another way of early warning. The smart vehicle is the new standard. They are connected, and especially in Norway, they are rapidly growing in numbers. As I said earlier, with the BM system solution, as it's already implemented all over Norway, and we're still putting the last modules into work. By end of 2024, all our people and all our subcontractors will be inside the system. They will, for absolutely all work out on the road, be creating real-time position data. So for us, this is not an additional or an extra effort for the people working out on the road. They will be connected, and this is just an add-on feature that gives this digital safety layer. So the no hands for our user is an important thing. They don't have to think about doing something to share their position and the use of the data. And of course, in the low margin business that O&M operations are, scaling and the cost of operating this solution is is fairly low as long as an interchange solution exists. And that was my sharing. Evan.
Thank you, Kjetil, for your presentation and an impression goal that you have to implement this during next year. That's real implementation, I think, if I understand you correct.
Yes, we have approximately 50 projects, and all are operating within the BM system as of today, but not all activities are in real time logged. But as I said, by the end of 2024, all activities will be running inside the BM system.
Good. And I also see that you say that you need the interchange to be in operation. And for those who talked about the interchange, this is one of the main input that we have for using the interchange. So that's a good point.
Yes.
And yeah.
It's data up in the cloud, which means what cloud and how to get it. So it has to be made accessible for those that can use the data.
You also said you have the safety first as a strategy in Mesta. Have you figured out what this will mean for the safety first strategy? Will there be zero accidents in the future because of the new technology that you implement?
I wish it was so that it would be zero accidents in the future. I don't think that will happen, but I'm sure that it will reduce the number of accidents, absolutely. So probably when the car is taking control by itself, then we can start closing that gap to zero.
Thank you very much, and to both Ramuden and Mesta for sharing their experience by real implementation of roadworks warning. We have sometimes, if there are any clarification or questions to the presenters so far, nothing in the chat, but I will open up if there are any questions now before we take the short break. So if there are anyone, please. Yeah, we have one from Christian Palm. If you like to try out roadworks warning and EVA with the Know It app. Yeah, it's a way to go into to a trial situation. So it was not a question, but it was a possibility to take part in live demonstration. Good, we take that with us. Go on for the last 3 presentations for this afternoon session. And we start with security and implementation of security. Security is important for CITS services, and also a complicated area. The question is, how should we do this? Do we have the necessary guidelines to do this or not? And we have 2 specialists to tell us about this, Daniel Ballberg and Benny Matic. Sorry if I pronounce it wrong, but you can introduce yourself and please give us your presentations about security.
Yeah, good. Will you start, Benny, with presenting yourself?
Yeah, sure. I'm Ben Matic. I'm working with the Swedish road administration for about 13 years now, with the focus on the IT side of road administration. That's me. Daniel?
Yeah, and I'm Daniel Malmberg. I work at the Swedish Transport Administration at the IT department. Work a lot with IT, OT system, ITS, and the IT infrastructure, and a bit of the security. So, and in the road side. So I've been doing this for last 13 years now, I think. But today we will talk about security and the need of guidelines. And we will talk about the fun topic, security, that we all love to work on. So, and we know that it's a great challenge, security. So in this presentation, we will talk about briefly the topics about PKI, the certificates, and the levels that we have in NordicWay 3.
Daniel,
yeah,
you have to take control of the presentation.
Yeah, I have done that.
You have done that, okay.
I just going through what we will talk about. So, and we will talk about the PKI certificates level in and what we've done in the levels in NordicWay 3, the challenges by implementing the PKI, the results in the roadworks warning. We go into the need of guidelines, and then we will finish with some recommendations that we have seen in the NordicWay project. So I think I will change.
Yes, good.
I'll leave the word to Benny.
Yep, thank you. Now, in roadworks warning, we've been using level 0 certificates for those who have been using certificates. It's been either supplied by the EU CCMS or the Norwegian MPRA's PKI system. And all this is, as you can see in the picture, for testing and integration works, the level 0 certificates. And as we heard from Mesta and Robin, these projects are starting to get more mature, and it might be actually time to look at going up to level 1. However, level 1 does require some additional thought and works. So moving on to the next picture. The PKI, or the public key infrastructure, is not as much a tech solution as it is an organizational solution. And you need to have that in mind when you're setting all of this up. You could use the EU CCMS and be very well off with that, but you need to have a second thought and a third thought before you start going down this road, because security is the key to making this work in the future. Now, the PKI and the EU CCMS is where the common security policies and certificate policies is applied. It only handles and takes care of message security. That's it. Message signing, making sure it's authenticated, and the integrity of the message. It's not on the transport layer security part as of yet. We're looking at it, hopefully someday, but it's just for message security. It was invented to support the short range and ITS G5 implementations, but it also supports different scenarios as in the hybrid and the long range parts. And moving on to the next slide. Daniel?
Yeah, here we can see at the roadworks warning the results in the security. Two of the roadworks warning pilots managed to sign messages according to the ETSI standard by using the L0 certificates. So as you can see here, we have Ramodem and we have the Norway then, who signed according to the ETSI. So here we could see and test that it's working, and it's but this is here at L0 we stopped in the NordicWay, And we come into that a little bit later here, why we stopped at the L0 certificates. And when we're talking about the guidelines, the need of guidelines, we have the C-Road specification that provides technical guidelines for security, but it's more about the technical issues and the guidelines. Then we had the ETSI standard that provides the message, how the messages shall be set up. But what we've seen under the pilots are that there is missing support in security questions. And then we are talking, we have the technical support, we have some, how do you set up messages, but it's a lot of, as we mentioned before here, it's a lot of organization and what should each country do, and it's a lot of other things we need to look into when we're talking about security then. And we have described this in the NordicWay 3 final report, A3, and we have annexed there with security. So when the report's coming out next year, you can read about it there. So.
Now, in the final report and in the annex security, we're talking a lot about moving forward and how we're going to move on and actually make some sort of production services from this. And we have some recommendations. These recommendations are some of them. Participating countries need to develop a national strategy. We can see Norway here already coming quite far along. And we're saying that any country that wants to take advantage of this coming CITS deployment should develop a national strategy. That's to determine the division of responsibilities and the effects of the participating entities, because this is quite a lot of work, needs quite a lot of thought. Make it right from the beginning, then we might actually have something secure, something we can build trust upon. And also clear communication channels are needed. Stakeholders, be them developers or innovators, they need somewhere to report questions, dilemmas, technical difficulties. Now, this is crucial to further development of the interoperability, and the entity that should answer these questions should be a state actor. That way, they are able to influence the continued progress of the standards, changing them, moving them forward, making them follow the technical developments that are coming. And also clarification of legislation. The hybrid connection with the ecosystem should be regulated by policies and statements like those described in the EU CCMS, and also any adjustments should be brought into C-Road's applications or specifications. Moving on, as we heard from Mesta and Ramuden, Central ITS Station is a very integrated part of all this, and the current C-Road specification places a very high level of responsibility on this unit. Now, trust mechanisms between actors publishing the messages and the Central ITS Station operators should be put in place and really written down. And also we can see the importance of keeping the momentum. We have pilots coming up, really starting real good, integrate security and get this thing moving, either by regional or national deployments, and gradually moving up from level 0 to level 1 and finally level 2 implementations. Yeah, that's the final slide for us.
Okay, thank you very much for this short and highlighted presentation of the security aspects. And a question from me can be, when we have heard about Ramuden and Mesta's implementation of roadworks warning, and we also have discussed the road pricing area today. Will security like PKI and certificates can be a showstopper for a full-scale implementation? Or
Yeah, it could be. It is a bit of a hurdle innovation-wise, and that's why we need to have somewhere to place our questions, turn to when we need support, and to set this up correctly from the get-go. That's why we're also pushing for some sort of state actor to supply the support. So yeah, definitely.
And another one, the security, will that be on a national level or on a Nordic level or on a European level, or what will be the guideline for that?
I believe we have to start looking at the national level, but of course, any cooperation we can have between our countries would be a big benefit. That would be great, but we need to look at the state operators to start with at least.
Okay, thank you very much for your presentation. And I take back the control. And then the next will be about requirements for the future to secure that we can go into a world with full-scale implementation. And what is the need for requirements to be sure that we can go on to implement both the roadworks warning and road pricing for the future? And we have Andreas Bäckström from Svevia with us to give us a highlight about requirements. So please, Andreas, the floor is yours.
Thank you. My name is, as just mentioned, Andreas Bäckström, and I work as a business developer and R&D project manager at the state-owned road maintenance and construction company Svevia. Svevia currently hold a 50% market share of the road maintenance areas in Sweden. So I'm going to talk about the need for requirements, so Sweden will be able to get going with the RVV deployment. The requirement referred to are the Swedish Transport Administration, the STA, already existing GPS requirements for roadwork vehicles and sites, and the need for these requirements to be developed further in collaboration with the industry to be able to start the RVV deployment.
Have you take? Yes, good, thanks.
Sorry. We can see or read in the Swedish Transport Administration STA's research and innovation plan regarding infrastructure maintenance. There are needs for more proactive measures with collaborations to obtain a more sustainable and digitalizing infrastructure maintenance that needs to see a digital transformation to take place. And in the STA's roadmap, digitalized road transport system, proposals for action key elements such as data-driven, ADAS, geofencing, connected roadworks are mentioned for obtaining the much-needed digital transformation. So with that background, as a response, the industry association wanted to launch a demo and implementation project, including ROV and traffic info, together with SDA and NordicWay to see if we could join forces in the mutual goal of implementing the ROV technology. So the industry motive is that every year people are injured and killed in the course of the work and in the roadworks related accidents. And truck-mounted alternator are hit every week in Sweden, and incidents occur on a daily basis. So the project aims are implementation of connected RVV and soon as possible, because the industry are ready and just waiting for the SDA GPS tracker requirements to expand to include ROV to be able to receive real-time warnings on state road in Sweden. And of course, the effects are fewer near misses and safer roads, and better and more automated traffic info. So the work packages are in the projects are done in collaboration. You see a bunch of partners in the bottom, in the top of the slide, and the first package, work package 1, was a ROV demo of roadworks warnings in vehicles from GPS connected roadworks. And work package 2 was the University Lund analysis prior to the introduction of geofencing. And work package number 3 was the production of an anchored proposal for increased GPS requirements for the implementation of RVV together with the SDA and NordicWay. And this is really the key element in these presentations and addressing the need for requirements. We also have an work package 4 analysis or pilot study on how FIFA, this SDA's database with time and place and impact of roadworks on the state road network, can utilize connected roadworks data. And that is for optimization of the status of ongoing roadworks and distribution of contact information, for example, for the work site via GPS connected roadworks data. We also have a work package 5 that is sharp pilot areas for testing and adjustment of requirements. But really, do we need another one to get started? It works, as someone already mentioned. So maybe we just should get going. Here is more a picture of the project partners from a more technical point of view. And I would like to take the opportunity to thank them all for a fantastic cooperation in the project. And an extra thanks to Combitech, whose participation in the MV3 as an implemented body is what enabled the road contractors in this project to share data to the MV3 interchange. The results from the projects is that the GPS information from the maintenance vehicles, the action data, where we plow or repair potholes, as already has been mentioned by Mesta, can undoubtedly be used as RVV data. And in addition, it is efficient from a climate and cost point of view due to SDL's already existing GPS requirements for about roughly 80% of the maintenance vehicles in Sweden. So what is required for the full impact of the technology is to road managers require GPS positioning for all maintenance vehicle and stationary work sites, and can therefore act as a future guarantee for the OEM, the car manufacturers, and their needs for quality data accessibility. An implementation plan in successive parts and areas, of course, but first of all, we just need to get started right now. So we just really think, what are we waiting for? We are all into it, and we want the technology implemented. And the cost of not implementing it, as someone just mentioned in the early session, seems much higher than implementing. So we would like to see yourself as a driver for the RVB implementation, and we have collected the entire value chain that is represented in the project. So we have an agile and iterative project management in collaboration, where we not just only focus on the technology, but have a view to the implementation. So we think it's about daring to go from pilot to implementation. And to sum it up, in the square you can see what is theirs to lose if the system we have nowadays with traffic information, we can with this system maybe go 90 or higher, but we can probably reach 100 directly, but compared to today's 35% and the OEM's requirement about 60, we are, as we see it, ready to go. So let's put the safety first. And thank you all. And do we maybe have any questions?
Thank you, Andreas, for giving us an example of how we need requirements to come further in the process for full-scale implementation. And maybe one question to follow up with can be, do you have all the clarification and the guidelines that we need to put it into sharp action for a full-scale implementation in the tendering and procurement processes for the future, or do we miss anything at the moment?
We think we have it all, but if we don't, we have, of course, many drivers who want to implement this technology. So if something are missing, we could just add it later. That's my opinion.
Good. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and maybe I should mention the picture here. You see the picture on the right here connected to the implementation. And we're, as we mentioned before, the technology, it's working, as someone said. And I think we have all the individuals that are also ready. It is just a matter of organization and rules now. But we're quite near, I'm very sure.
This is also an outcome from the Nordic cooperation, I think. So it's impressive to see what you have done. Good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Then we go to the final presentations for this afternoon session. And Per Einar was starting to show us an overview of the flagship pilots and about the NordicWay 3. And now he will finalize to show us what the plan for roadworks warning are in the Norway. So please, Per Einar, give us the insight in how we will handle this further on in Norway.
Thank you. A lot of the presentations have also talked about what next, and I will now sum up a little bit about what next for NPRA. The first thing is about the interchange. I have written no interchange, no services with a question mark. At least for real-time data services, the interchange solution is to be considered as one of the best solutions. And it's important to provide an interchange solution beyond NordicWay 3 and give predictability to service providers. Norway have now a procurement call for further development and operation of interchange solution for the next 3 years. And we will of course take an active role in future cross-border testings and share knowledge with the new actors. And we will focus on data quality, and at least roadworks data must match the on-road setup, so that the driver, when he got messages inside the vehicle, he needs to see that on the road. If there are no match there, this service will not be a very good one, and the confidence will not be good. And we will focus in 2024 on, of course, roadworks data, and we will also have try to implement variable speed limits into the service. Kjetil mentioned about the scaling up with Mesta, and we will focus on roadworks mobile with the grass cutting and snow plowing. That's the two services we will focus on together with Mesta. And we will scale it up with the more geographical coverage, and we will, of course, test the message production. And we mentioned earlier today that we got data from Østfold County, which is in the bottom right of the map there. But Mesta have about 40% of the coverage of the main roads in Norway. So we think when we implement the rest of the area in 2024, we will have a lot of data to see if this kind of service will have some impacts. Ramuden, they showed us that they are on the way to a fully digital work zone, and they are near Trondheim. They have a complex work zone with the digital information, and we will together with them explore what data is available and how to use this data to produce roadworks warning services. It is important to do the easy part first, but also look into the future of self-driving vehicles need of real-time data, such as digital twins. So in the picture, we have Ramuden on the left side with the start of the roadworks warning data flow, and at the right side, we have the future solutions with a total digitalized work zone, which could be a part of services for the self-driving systems. Gjermund talked about the international work, and as you see on the right picture there, there's a conference in Amsterdam today and tomorrow, which you mentioned, and the roadworks data is highlighted in that discussions. And NPRA will continue to participate in the international work and be an active part in the discussions at European level. And we will, of course, coordinate the work with our Nordic colleagues. So we have some internal activities that we have planned for. It's about improve the internal process against roadworks data. We have digital plans of work zones. We must have less paper-based information. We need to ensure correct status of roadworks. We have established good routines for activate, deactivate roadworks. And we want to collect real-time data from work zones, true user standards. We must see into the contracts with the entrepreneur, which Svelja also was talking about. We will need more digital data aligned with standards. We should avoid costly requirements, such as need for new hardware and introduce comprehensive processes. But as Mesta and Ramon said, they have already those data, and it should be a low cost to implement further on. And we need Nordic coordination because many entrepreneurs work international. About the OEMs and service providers, we will continue cooperation with OEMs such as Volvo and Polestar, and we will of course motivate service providers to provide roadworks warning services. So what's the motivation for our involvement? It's of course to reduce number of serious accidents. It's to have safe work zones for entrepreneurs, better traffic flow, reduce material cost caused by accidents. These are some of the main motivation factors. And at last, I would say we are almost there, so go for the finish line. That I think was my end.
Thank you, Per Einar. And as far as I can see, there are no questions in the chat. Hopefully that doesn't mean that it's late on the day, but that this session and the presentations was very good and understandable and clear. And I think we have had a nice session this afternoon looking into roadworks warning and road pricing and topics around this for towards the full-scale implementation. And I will have all the videos up for the presenters this afternoon. I will thank you all for the contribution for this session. And to wrap up this, I will remind you that we start tomorrow morning at 8:30 with the next session. And looking forward to see you there. And thank you to the presenters this afternoon. And also have a nice evening to all the participants here this afternoon. So see you tomorrow. Thanks very much.